What's up, Mob Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you can hear me all right, please put a 1 in the chat. Good to see everybody. For those that are new to the channel, I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover murder, mystery to the missing. And we recently hit a new benchmark, 65,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's been an amazing ride. I can't believe I made it this far. I couldn't have done it without all you guys, and of course my mods who work really hard every day when we go live. So special shout out to them. Today we're going to be going over the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. If you're not familiar with it, we will do a kind of a recap. So don't worry if you're not familiar with this case. It has many layers to it, many layers to it. But we'll get everybody up to speed, just in case if you don't know about it. And then I had never really looked into the probable cause affidavit, and when I did, I discovered some very interesting things. So we'll kind of dive into that. Before I get started, we like to feature the missing, and of course I've got to quickly plug my Patriot Supply real quick, so I'm going to do that while I get my video set up here.
Mob Crew and friends, are you prepared for the widespread food shortages ahead? Farmers have been warning us for months, but are we listening? They say it's beyond their control, especially with the fertilizer crisis. Bottom line, food shortages will be a harsh reality very soon. That's why you should get ready now with emergency food from My Patriot Supply. And good news, today you'll save 20% on their 3-month food kit. These kits provide delicious, easy-to-make breakfasts, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks for one person for 3 solid months. Get one for each member of your family while you're able to save 20% during this timely sale. Remember, My Patriot Supply is the nation's largest preparedness company with millions of families already protected. These 3-month food kits, which average 2,000 calories a day, are in stock and ready to go. Your order ships fast and free and arrives in unmarked boxes. Go to preparewithwww.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Those who know what's coming are already prepared. Are you? Prepare with www.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Thank you so much.
Okay, shout out to My Patriot Supply for being an affiliate with the channel. Of course, before we get started, we always like to give back by featuring the missing. Today we have Janessa Boney. She just went missing March 3rd. For those that are in Utah, like me, she went missing out of Plain City. She's just 15 years old. It's more likely a runaway, and they believe she may be with her supposed boyfriend, this guy Andrew, who's also, I guess, maybe missing as well. 19 years old, brown hair, brown eyes. And she has brown hair and hazel eyes. She is 5'3", 115 pounds. She does have a smiley face tattoo on her ankle and a lip piercing on her right nostril and upper lip. This is out of Plain City, Utah. Plain City is kind of northern Utah. It's kind of west of Ogden. But I believe that these two have been a runaway. Andrew has piercings on his nose and ear, rose tattoo on his right forearm. This is what's scary, is the couple may be involved in a pact to hurt themselves, which that doesn't sound good. Was last seen driving a 2002 gold/brown Chevy Tahoe with the sticker on the back of the window of a grenade with the words Ford Repair Kit. Also, a Utah temporary license plate on the back passenger window that does not roll up. So if you have any information, please call 801-395-8221. And one more. And this is, and we'll go back to our picture here. This is, and I hope I don't butcher this, my apologies, Anya Lee or Anya Lay Sanchez Aviles. Just a 12-year-old girl who just went missing out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. She's just 5 foot tall, 85 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. This is her right here. out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And if you have any information, you can call 1-800-TBI-FIND or 1-865-436-4212. 12-year-old out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So, okay. And I do take a request. If you have a friend or a family member that recently went missing, you can email me. I can't get to everybody, but I try to respond as quickly as I can. So, all right, let's get going. Wow, what this case, for those that probably, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this case. It's finally going to be going to trial, but we'll do kind of a recap because there's just so many layers. And so I made a video, and we'll play the first part of that, and then we'll kind of dive into the probable cause affidavit, mainly for Chad Daybell, because that one has a little bit more of the timeline of Alex Cox. One of the reasons why, I mean, this case is very fascinating, but one of the things I noticed with like the Netflix documentary with, I think it's called Sins of Her Mother, and then a couple other documentaries, they talk about Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow, but they really don't go in depth on how and when they went missing. I mean, they do, but they don't go too much in depth in it. And so this is something that I kind of wanted to focus on, and kind of give you guys some more insight on when they went missing. It, like I said, going through this probable cause affidavit was very interesting. And we'll get into that when we get to that point. So we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, layers, disturbing layers. It is wild. And thank you so much, Debbie Olander, for becoming a member. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome.
Wonderful husband Joseph at home, who is watching our two beautiful children, Colby, who's 7, and Tylee, who is 1.
Yeah, what do you guys like to do for fun?
Turn this up a little bit. Oh, okay, yeah, it is turned up. What's up? Okay, so let me know how the volume is on this. This is kind of just a short recap. We'll play about 10 minutes of it until we get to the part of the children here. But this is just a little recap on Lori and her kind of progress to where we are at now. So this crazy story begins and centers around Lori Vallow, who was born in San Bernardino, California. Lori grew up with one younger sister, Summer, and 2 older brothers, Adam and Alex Cox. Lori was raised with the LDS religion, which is the Church of Latter-day Saints, and she was very sensitive with her faith, according to her father. In her 20s, Lori Vallow would have a son named Colby Ryan, her firstborn, and 6 years later would have Tylee Ryan. Lori would go on an episode of Wheel of Fortune.
Pretty much.
Talk about your family a little bit.
I have a wonderful husband, Joseph, at home, who is watching our two beautiful children, Colby, who's 7, and Tylee, who is 1.
Yeah, what do you guys like to do for fun?
We like to play all kinds of sports on our 3 acres.
Well, it's kind of crazy to see this clip and then to know where we're at now. What a crazy turn of events.
Okay, sounds like you have a nice life there.
We do.
Congratulations.
And also in a beauty pageant, Lori believed she was a superior being and even spoke to angels. After 3 failed marriages, in 2006, Lori would marry again to Charles Vallow, who was a stable figure for Lori and the 2 kids. Yeah, death penalty is on the table, so we'll see what happens. Although Charles grew up Catholic, he began to convert to the LDS faith per Lori's wishes to connect better with each other. In 2014, they adopted Joshua Jackson, known as JJ, who was Charles's grandnephew at the time. JJ unfortunately had autism and needed special care, but the couple, Charles and Lori, raised him like their own son, and they would all eventually move to Hawaii in 2014. The kids would go to school there, Tylee would meet her best friend, and they would open up their own smoothie bar on the beach side. Lori would also go to the LDS church and began to become more sensitive to her faith. Charles would soon have trouble keeping up with the direction of Lori's faith. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had Charles's sister, Kay Woodcock, last time we covered this case, I think it was like a month, maybe a little 2 months ago. We did a little live kind of similar to this. And yeah, she showed up in our live chats. And they fought so hard for those kids, to bring them home. Unfortunately, didn't have the right outcome. But they've been such an amazing couple, Kay Woodcock and Larry. They've been amazing people. And yeah, just such a sad tragedy, losing her brother, then JJ, and it just all the dominoes that have fallen in this case, causing a disconnection between the two. Chapter 2, Meeting Chad Daybell. In 2015 would be the first crack in this newly reformed family. Lori, who was growing even more spiritually with her LDS faith, would read a series of books called Standing in Holy Places, which was written by Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell also grew up with the LDS faith in Utah. Chad would become more of an extremist in the religion after experiencing 2 NDEs, which stands for near-death experience, in which he was shown visions, past, present, and future, and also allowed him to see beyond the veil. Chad believed he had lived many lives before this one on other planets, and during this life there would be a second coming of Christ, and the world would end on July 22nd of 2020 by an apocalyptic event such as earthquakes. Chad was to lead the 144,000 followers that would survive doomsday. And Rexburg, Idaho would become the new Jerusalem and a camp for survivors. So Chad would move his family to Rexburg, Idaho, and began writing a series of books about his visions. So Lori began to become obsessed with, and I think that shows just how much they're trying to fight for the justice for JJ and Tylee. So that's amazing that they do that. I'm assuming it's Kay, but it could be Larry. But yeah, just the fact that they're doing that, it's absolutely amazing. This just disgusts me. Every time you see a picture of her, even her recent picture, we'll look at it. She's got some kind of smirk or smiling. Oh, it's disgusting. The books by Chad Daybell, and growing more distant from Charles, claiming he was not putting enough effort into his LDS religion, causing another crack that would cause the family to try and restart by moving to Arizona in 2016. Colby would move on to college and marriage, but things would eventually... I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I should speak on this or not, but I do find some people's NDEs, their experiences kind of fascinating. I think we all have, some kind of curiosity of what's in the afterlife, and could NDEs be any, guys into what's beyond the veil? So I do find it kind of interesting. I could see where there's an appeal for it, but obviously that's he took it beyond that, way beyond that. It wasn't just seeing beyond the veil. He's now can see the future. He's, he took it way too far. Eventually get worse when Lori attended an event called Preparing the People, where Lori would meet Chad in the fall of 2018 and was introduced into a group of LDS extremists consisting of Chad, Melanie, Alex, and others who began to believe in the end times. Chad would tell Lori that he and Lori had been married 7 times in a previous life. Chapter 3, The Breaking Point. During this time, Charles Vallow was often going out of town for his work, and Lori began hosting private meetings at her home in Arizona, and this is where they learned about the light and dark spirits and how Chad had the ability to see them. Light being good souls, and dark meaning the spirit has left the body and a demon has replaced them, and they were called zombies, or Z's for short. Chad told Lori she was an eternal being and was meant to be by his side, and that they needed to get rid of the dark spirits, aka zombies, and he would even make up a list for Lori that had all her close family members and friends on it with a rating system. In early 2019, things got to a breaking point with Charles and Lori. In April, they would split up and file for divorce. Lori told her family and friends that Charles had been cheating on her and had convinced most of her family and friends to shun Charles. And this was so sad because obviously it was kind of the other way around, but he sounded more crazy than she did, because he was telling the officers and stuff these stories of all these things, or her cult or whatever you want to call it, and it was sad because he was sending emails out to the family, and he did kind of I could see where he would kind of look suspicious because he was sending out this stuff, and of course they didn't know at the time, but yeah, it's just such a shame that nobody listened to him in the beginning. But good to see you, Steve. Steve from True Crime Web. I think most of you know, but if you don't, he's somebody that comes on usually Monday. He is my co-host for Monday and has done an amazing job with the Murdoch case, and we may do something with this case as well, where we may do some reenactments or something if there's something that's there to do. Kind of like what we do with Murdoch. So we'll see what goes on, but please go and show him some love as well, and subscribe if you haven't. Amazing content creator, and we'll be working closely with some cold cases here real soon. And ignore him. Charles would somehow get a hold of an email Chad Daybell wrote on January 23rd of 2019 that had all the family members ranked. Fearing Lori may hurt the kids or himself, he began forwarding this email along with a plea for help from the families, but sadly most believed he was acting suspicious and more crazy than Lori, and they would ignore these messages. While Charles was coming back from out of town, Lori and her brother Alex would take Charles's truck from the airport and break into his home and take most of his stuff, and even drained one of the bank accounts. Charles would have to get the law enforcement involved.
How does she pose a threat to your children?
I don't know what she's going to do with them. I don't know if she's going to flee with them. She's going to hurt them.
You don't even know if she's here, right?
Today on the phone.
Has she made any statements about wanting to hurt the children or anything?
Today she said with Gabe on the phone, come take the kids. I don't care what happens to them. Come take them.
She said that she would murder you through a spiritual...
No, she said, I can murder you.
I can murder you. And she's talking in a spirit...
Kill you.
Spiritual...
No, she's talking physically. I will kill you because you're not Charles, and nobody will care.
Okay.
But after hearing both sides, they didn't really do anything. Lori would then move her and the two kids into a rental home in Chandler, Arizona. Chapter 4. Getting rid of zombies. On July 11th, 2019, knowing that Charles was coming over and was going to confront Lori about everything, Lori had her brother Alex spend the night so he would be there in the morning. When Charles came over to pick up JJ, Charles and Lori immediately began to argue. He would then acquire a bat after snatching it from Tylee's hands. The kids and Lori would leave the house while Alex and Charles were still inside, and according to Alex Cox, after getting hit in the head with the bat, he went to grab his gun, and after being threatened again by Charles, Alex would shoot Charles multiple times in the chest and stomach, killing Charles instantly. Now, I think most of you, obviously, it seems like most of you guys know this case, but for those that may not, Alex, the one that shot Charles, is, as it says, is the brother to Lori and would be known as the family hitman. And like I said, we're going to kind of focus on him. Obviously, the thumbnail has him in it, and we're going to get to him in the last moments with the kids. And like I said, there's something in the probable cause affidavit that I find very interesting, and we'll get to that here in just a bit. Although this appeared to be self-defense to law enforcement, what they didn't know at the time was this was all pretty much planned out by Lori and Alex, and they knew Charles was going to confront her that morning. Lori would have been in her late 40s. Chad would have been in his early 50s when this is all going down. And according to Alex and Lori, they believed they were just getting rid of a zombie and doing God's work. Alex wouldn't call 911 for 45 minutes.
Or Peaks in Chandler, is that right?
Yes.
You need
Yes.
police or paramedics?
And this is the crazy thing is, I can't remember where I saw this, but is one of the documentaries. I don't think it's Sins of a Mother, but apparently Alex, Cox, and Charles were actually good buddies for a long time. That's what's really sad. I mean, everything is just terrible in this case, but apparently they were really good because Lori, before this marriage to Charles, she'd been married 4 times before that. I think she had 5 marriages, and then Chad would be 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but I think Chad would make 6. It's either 5 or 6, but she had plenty of marriages before, and Alex hated all of them. The family never liked any of her other husbands, and of course the last one before Charles, Alex actually would almost probably taken his life because he tased him. But anyway, I digress. It's just really sad that those two actually had apparently a really good relationship before all this went down. But this part's really sad because this is Alex calling 911 and faking to do compressions on Charles. He knew he was passed away.
Both. I'm in police in an ambulance.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in
Okay.
self-defense.
All right, that was number 5. Okay.
Okay,
There was
let me get
5
the
or
medics
6.
on the phone.
Conscious.
Unconscious.
Okay, is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Okay, are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
Because you're going to put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yeah.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Making sure his chest goes up between each compression. Where's the gun now?
Meanwhile, Lori took the rental that Charles came with, and her and the kids went to Burger King and shopping after dropping JJ off to school. Lori also knew that Charles had a $1 million life insurance plan, which she thought she was still the primary beneficiary for. What she didn't know is Charles had changed it to his sister Kay Woodcock, knowing that something may happen to him. With just a year to go before doomsday, Chad, Alex... And the other messed up thing is they... Because obviously Charles had some sons with a previous marriage, or obviously another woman's, and it was so messed up because I don't know if they would have wanted because his remains were cremated, and then they just sent him off to the boys or something like that. And they had like little to no communication, Lori, between his Charles's surviving sons, and I think that's just so disgusting that the way they did that. And of course all they were concerned about was calling life insurance, and she didn't know until after getting a letter in the mail, because she thought she was the beneficiary. Thank goodness he switched that. Lori and a few others were on a mission to get rid of the 20,000 zombies before the second coming of Christ. Chapter 5. Tylee Ryan. Lori would move in September 2019 to Rexburg, Idaho, taking JJ and Tylee with her. The townhomes they moved into were located just 15 minutes from Chad Daybell's home. What people don't really talk about is that Tylee was now 16 years old and was going through a tough time, just losing her closest father figure and being separated again with anyone she ever knew, and also probably putting together the relationship between Chad and her mother Lori, who were becoming more intimate. I would speculate she may have had problems with this relationship, and with the move she could have been acting out. Also, not to mention, she was the only other witness besides Lori who saw what went down between the altercation between Charles, Lori, and Alex. And so there's some interesting things in this probable cause, which we're going to get to here just real quickly. There's a few more things I'm going to play, and then we'll jump into it. But yeah, she started calling her daughter a zombie. I'm assuming you probably, it's not shocking to hear that. We know she was saying that with JJ, but there is an incident with Melanie, I think it's Melanie Gibb, where she was on the phone. Those two were on the phone, and before she went missing, I guess while Lori was talking, Tylee said something, and then Lori said, well, you're a zombie, something like that. And then you could hear Tylee saying, I'm not a zombie, and how devastating that, she probably had no idea what was coming, making her a liability. Tylee was labeled as a dark spirit according to Chad's chart. Lori's brother Alex and niece would also move to the same complex as well. Sadly, this is when the sightings of the two kids, JJ and Tylee, would become sparse, and the information about exactly what happens to them is very limited. On September 6th, we see a neighbor taking a picture and uploading to Facebook of JJ playing outside the townhomes in Rexburg. On September 8th, Lori, Alex, JJ, and Tylee would go to Yellowstone National Park. Sadly, this would be the last few photos of Tylee seen alive. This part is where it's unclear as to when exactly Tylee was murdered and who. Okay, thank you, Hunting Evil. Yeah, today we're focused on this case here, but that is interesting. I'll have to look at that. I appreciate you popping that up. It's always a case. Delphi is always something I'm interested in. Tom says, this case is crazy. I hope everyone is having a great day. Thank you so much, Tom. And as I said, prayers for you and your family. I know it must be a tough time. And thank you so much for the $20, buddy. That's awesome. So I've got a calendar. I've got a calendar of the September, October, November, December that shows kind of like the highlights of the craziness, because this is when it basically kind of gets going. The last sightings of JJ and Tylee. So, because like I said, the documentaries are very interesting, but they don't really dive deep into their last, moments and who was around and who could have been involved in their disappearance. I mean, we most likely, Alex is suspected, but did he have help? And like I said, this probable cause has some very interesting things. We'll get to here in just a second. Who exactly was involved? But either that night of the 8th or early morning of the 9th of September, sadly, Tylee's life would be taken. That next day. Okay, so actually this will be a good time, and then we'll jump over to JJ. But we'll start with Tylee. So they obviously went to this Yellowstone on Sunday, September 8th. It was her, Alex, and then JJ and Tylee. And so we'll kind of... Oh, I thought I had this up here. And real quick, Dilly Pickles, been a member for 1 month. Thank you so much for the support. God, I can't believe it's been a month already, Dilly. Seems like yesterday when you became a member. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Gosh, look at all this. I've got to start separating my folders. Yeah, I mean, just considering Idaho, there's definitely a lot going in Idaho. And that's just the recent cases. Yeah, that's kind of weird. But anyway, let's, I'm just going to kind of focus. Maybe I should minimize this a little bit. minimize this so I'm not blocking it here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so on September 8th, we're going to focus on Tylee, and then we'll go over to JJ. But if you're just kind of wondering their last movements and what happened day before and the day of. So it looks like they went to Yellowstone National Park on Sunday. Probably left fairly early. I think it's like a 2. It kind of depends on which, because Yellowstone's pretty big. It's pretty massive. But it looks like they went into the West Yellowstone area because they would exit. Now this is Alex Cox's cell phone ping. This is kind of what helped them, get a timeline together of Tylee and JJ's last movements. But looks like they were there until about 4:30, and then it looks like Alex's phone pinged at 4:40 at the West Gate, as they call it, West Yellowstone. And then it looks like they went to Buckaroo's Barbecue at 4:45. And then it looks like they drove back home, which, like I said, I think it's about 2 to 3 hours, depending on kind of like the route you take, because there's a couple of different routes. But approximately 2 to 3 hours, they get back. Now at this time, they were living at that the apartment complex that you got Lori, you've got her brother Alex, and then you also have her niece Melanie. They're all moved into. I think there's 3 complexes and they're all in the same. They're all in the same building, but they each have their own apartment. So they're there. His phone pings at 8:37. So now we'll pull up the affidavit here. Let's see. I might do this without. Okay, so hopefully I won't block it here. And like I said, I'm going to focus on Chad because Chad's probable cause affidavit has a little more of the movements of Alex. So let's see. We can get it here. Okay, here we go. And then I'll have to spring it forward. Let's see if I can find it where she talked about Tylee. Might be. Oh, okay. Here it is. Okay, so in one of the spots, because we're not going to go through it all because there's so much to it. But before she went missing, just like I talked about, and it's in here, like I said, a big witness is Melanie Gibb. She was also part of this group, but started realizing, that these guys were way, she started seeing red flags and got out. And then she's like I said, she's going to be kind of one of the biggest witnesses to testify against Chad and Lori. But at the time, she was real close to Lori. She kind of believed in the end of the world scenario. I don't know how much she was into the zombie thing, but obviously at some point she got her moral compass together and got out. But anyway, it kind of says in here that so Gibb reports that when she arrived in Rexburg, Lori Vallow informed her that JJ had become a zombie. Gibb further reports that the term zombie, we already kind of know what zombie refers to, a dark spirit who's taken over the body. And then let's see. And then Lori Vallow had learned it from Chad Daybell, because Daybell's the one that's obviously is the one telling who's the zombies and not. And then, of course, their mission is to get rid of zombies, which doesn't really make sense. If the world's going to end, why are they worried about getting rid of zombies? If it's going to be earthquakes and tsunamis, don't you think that, this end of the world thing would get rid of most of them anyway? That's what doesn't make sense. I mean, there's so many things that don't make sense. But anyway, so on this page 9 or whatever, it says Melanie Gibb had further informed that Lori Vallow called Tylee a zombie in the spring of 2019. Now, she would obviously go missing on September 9th, but they wouldn't know until much later. But she'd be last seen on September 8th, I guess you could say. But while Melanie was on the phone with Lori, she heard Lori call Tylee a zombie, to which Tylee responded, "Not me, Mom." And this arose out of Lori requiring Tylee to babysit JJ, and Tylee did not want to. Wow. So just because she's just a basic teenager who, I'm sure all teenagers don't want to do their chores and whatnot, and that made her a zombie. And then Lori, I guess, told Gibb that Tylee had turned into a zombie when she was 12 or 13, which was approximately the same time Tylee had become difficult to deal with. Teenage years. So anyway, then they get the search warrant, and they go ahead and get the GPS for Alex's phone. Let me blow this up. For some reason it's smaller. I might have to move it over here a little bit. Okay, so we're going to focus on Tylee, and then we'll go over to JJ. And then we're going to put them together. And like I said, when you put them together, there's something kind of interesting. So this talks about how they were at the Yellowstone National Park, and this is September 8th that we just kind of went through. And then they were there until about 4:30, and then they have some lunch or dinner at Buckaroo's, and then they head back to the apartment. And so now it says that so Cox then returns to Rexburg at 20:37, so that's 8:30. The phone is then at Lori's apartment until 9:35, at which time Alex appeared to go to the Maverick on Main Street until 9:43, and then he went back to Lori's apartment between 10:44 and 11:15. And I think, in my opinion, maybe she's still alive, Tylee, but maybe they're planning something at this point. And then at 11:44, Alex goes back to his residence. Now, this is where I think something happens. So, in the early hours of September 9th, which is a Monday, his phone is pinging at his apartment in the early hours. But then, however, at 2:42 a.m. till about 3:37, so almost an hour, he is located at Lori's apartment. And apparently, from all the records they looked at from when they were living there, he had never gone over to Lori's during this kind of time frame, obviously in the early morning. So obviously, I would think something sadly happened to Tylee during this time. And they note it here that this is really the only time that he would ever appear at her apartment at that kind of hour. And then he would go back to his apartment at 4:37. And then he stayed there until 8:59. And then this is where it gets interesting. Well, I mean, it's all interesting, sadly. At 9:21 a.m., so he must left probably at around 9 a.m. Because I think it takes about 15 minutes roughly to get to Lori's. So if we just look on the map, I think it's about a 15-minute drive to the apartment complex to Chad Daybell's property here. So Alex's phone on September 9th would start pinging at 9:21 a.m. And if we look here, it says, and this is obviously Chad Daybell's address, and that they can tell that he's not pinging at the home, but he's kind of pinging east of the property near the barn, which would be kind of near where they would be found. And so he was there. Alex's phone was still at the residence at 10:39. At 10:47, his phone shows a hit at the city of St. Anthony, which is about 5 minutes north. So he was there. Let's see. He was there for approximately 2 hours from like 9:30 to 10:47, something like that. So he was there for nearly 2 hours, and then apparently he goes to a Del Taco at 11:52, and then he would end up back at his house shortly after that, and then spend the rest of his day there. Now I'm going to take a sip so I don't lose my voice, and then we'll go over to Chad here. So most likely, in my opinion, you have, sadly, Alex burying and disposing of Tylee's remains. Chad could have been involved in it as well. Chad's wife, Tammy, I think at the time was working as a librarian at the school. So I would assume she would be working like 9 to 5 school hours, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody in the chat kind of knows, but I would assume maybe that would be some, or not 9 to 5, but more like 9 to 3 or something like that. But anyway, what's interesting is Chad texts his wife, Tammy, shortly just after Alex had left. He texts her at 11:53, and I'm sure if you followed this case, you've heard this one. He says, "Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun. He was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times." And then he says, "Gonna shower now, then go right for a while at BYU. Love you." She responds back later, "Good for you." And then I'm back now. Now, what's interesting is they would be found, one of them would be found near the pet cemetery. Obviously, Tylee, sadly. But raccoons, and they put this in here because I do recall somebody putting in the comments about this, about the raccoon thing. So in the affidavit it says, "I found the text suspicious because raccoons are normally nocturnal animals and are not regularly out during the day. It should be noted that from interviewing neighbors of Chad Daybell, we are aware in mid-July of 2019, Chad's son told neighbors that Chad had shot a raccoon out of a tree on a property during the day." Let's see. The neighbors are named Matt and Reagan. Gar told Matt about the raccoon in the response to a question from Matt about hearing a gunshot. The Prices informed me that the fire pit in the back of Daybell's property was hardly ever used until the last few months. Reagan informed me that there appeared to be frequent bonfires in the pit on the Daybell property over the last few months, and the first one she noticed was soon after Tammy's death on October 19th. Wow, that is interesting. Yeah, raccoon out in the middle. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very sad. So who knows if he's involved, what role did he have with possibly disposing, helping Alex? But when we get over to JJ, there's something interesting that I noticed with these phone pings. So I'm going to get back over to my video for a minute and then play just the part for JJ, his last sightings. And then we'll go over to JJ and Alex. And there's something kind of interesting early in the morning. So... okay, and then so after Tylee would go missing, she would have a birthday coming up, which is really sad too. And her brother Colby here, who's in Sins of Our Mother, obviously he was trying to reach out to his sister Tylee, and he was getting responses back, but he had no idea that it was actually his own mother using Tylee's phone to make it look like her. And he kept asking her, like, Colby hey, call me. It's your birthday. I want to talk to you. Wish you a happy birthday. But she'd always have some kind of lame excuse, and he started getting suspicious. Her number, but noticed something was very off about the text messages that were being sent back. They didn't have any punctuation and didn't seem like they were coming from Tylee. He would continue to text Tylee's phone and would receive short answers. So here's some of the texts. The ones in gray here are would supposed to be from Tylee, but they're really Lori. But it says, "Call you back later. Love you. At the movie, I'll call you after." And then, here's you got his response like, "Please call me. I'm worried about you." And then, she responds with, "Worried about me? What?" And just so sad. Jennifer, member for 11 months. Oh my gosh, has it been that long? That's crazy. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for all your hard work. And to all the mods, Karen, D, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Mr. RN, thank you so much for the $2 support. Everything helps. Thank you so much for the support. I forgot. I didn't have live chat on. Hope I didn't miss anything. Okay, I just realized I didn't have live chat on. My apologies. Back with some excuse as to why she couldn't call him back. Sadly, Tylee had been dead for weeks now, and it was really his... Yeah, so her birthday was on September 24th. Sadly, her life was taken on September 9th. Mother Lori sending the text messages pretending to be Tylee. After Colby called his mother out about everything going on, she eventually turned off Tylee's phone and told everyone that asked about Tylee that she was off to college at BYUI. But in reality, she was rotting in Chad Daybell's pet cemetery. Chapter 6. Joshua Jackson. Yeah, and then, thank you, Under Your Scars, especially when you look into JJ and the phone pings. I found this very interesting, and let's look at it here in just a minute. So during part of September 2019, JJ was going to Kennedy Elementary School. On September 6th, he was captured playing outside his home with Tylee. Then we have the final pictures of Tylee and JJ together at the Yellowstone National Park on the 8th. What is not really mentioned about JJ in his final weeks is that he was not receiving his regular dose of medication that treats irritability caused by autism. Many believe Lori did this on purpose to show her inner circle on how he was behaving more like a demon and considered a zombie. JJ and Tylee would eventually be labeled as dark spirits. This, of course, is upsetting, and without JJ's medication, he would have episodes. He was also caught on camera acting out with another kid and swearing. After Tylee's disappearance, JJ was often seen playing outside unsupervised. This camera footage would be the last video evidence of JJ seen alive. He was seen for the last time at school and later that night on September 23rd. This is the last picture taken of JJ in red pajamas on the 22nd. I thought it was more because there's a couple of different ways to get into it, Yellowstone. So I was thinking, but yeah, that sounds about around 2 hours, something like that. At 10:46 a.m. This will be significant in a little bit. During this week of September, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend David Warwick had been visiting and been spending the night in the townhomes, which consisted of multiple apartments occupied by the different members like Alex, Lori, and her niece. Gibb and Warwick were the last people to see JJ alive during the night of the 23rd. They were all going to sit down and do a podcast when apparently JJ started acting up. So his uncle Alex came over and took JJ to his apartment. Alex would later bring JJ back over, covered up in his arms, wearing the same red pajamas seen earlier in this photo. And Warwick saw JJ and said that he looked peaceful. After carrying JJ away into the bedroom, he would never be seen again. The next morning, Alex Cox's phone would ping sometime in the early hours of September 24th. So I retract that because there were some conflicting things, but now that I've seen the probable cause, looks like the 22nd is when he was seen wearing the pajamas, even though it's labeled 23rd. I guess you can say it's the 23rd because of his early morning hours. But now seeing where the phone pinged, because there was also a statement where he was seen for the last time at school, but I don't think that's true. Excuse me. Okay, let me back out here for a second. Okay, so this is where we're gonna actually, I wonder. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it this way here. This will probably explain it better. Okay. So let me move this over here. Okay, so we have with regarding Tylee, excuse me. We have Alex pinging his phone, pinging at the Daybell's residence between 9:21 and 11:39, so just over 2 hours, most likely disposing of Tylee. But what's interesting is on the 23rd, just after the last sighting of JJ, his phone pings at the Daybell property and only pings there. He's only there 4 days in September. 4 different days. All of them except for the September 9th were short intervals, like 10 to 15 minutes. So it's interesting that he spent 2 hours there on September 9th when Tylee went missing. But on September 23rd, this is interesting, and this is when he was last seen, he was only there for 17 minutes. So, I mean, would that be enough time to dispose of somebody? And I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't know, how long. I knew that his phone pinged there on those dates, but I didn't know how long. But yeah, on September 23rd, he only was there for 17 minutes. So does that mean that Chad, who was, had worked as a gravedigger, did he help in burying? Obviously, as someone mentioned in the chat, he knew that they were back there because as soon as they started digging, he tried to make a run for it, didn't get very far. And so, yeah, some people are asking the cause of death. Yeah, I don't know specifically exactly. I'm sure we'll learn. I don't want to speculate. It is kind of tough, just in case if somebody shows up. I'd rather not go into that. But yeah, I don't know if we know exactly on both of them. But they were found, buried in. It wouldn't be for. So if we look on the calendar here, this will kind of show just the chaos. So we have the last sighting of Tylee on September 8th, and then she's buried on the 9th. And then it's almost the same thing where you have kind of the last sighting on the 22nd, late into the 22nd, early 23rd, and then the 23rd he's buried. So you got Mondays where he's buried, which is interesting because it's a school day. Tammy, I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure she worked at the library at the time. And then, of course, Chad, he writes books, so he's just home. So, would make sense to get rid of him, during a school day where Tammy's gone. There's no other witnesses. And so you got that. And then now with them out of the way, sadly, then Chad and Lori would get married on November 5th. And then, of course, Kay and Larry had been trying to get a hold of, the kids, of course, JJ, because they hadn't spoken to JJ, and they had a short FaceTime. I don't know if it was in the month of September or prior to that. And so they hadn't heard from the kids. And so they did a welfare check on November 26th. That's where they showed up at the apartments looking for Lori. And of course, when they showed up, JJ wasn't there, nor Tylee. Now, of course, at the time they were just looking for JJ. She told them that Tylee was going to college, and then she also said that JJ was actually with Melanie Gibb. in Arizona, which of course wasn't true. And then we have November 29th, where they, after Chad gets married, Chad and Lori, we have Melanie, the niece of Lori, and I forget the other guy, and then her brother Alex. They get married on the 29th of November. Then we have in October, so much craziness, is we have an attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux. So the Melanie, the niece that's living there with Lori, who just got remarried to somebody else. I forget his name. I'm sure somebody in chat will know. I want to say Mark, but it could be wrong. But anyway, her ex-husband, Brandon, is shot at. And it's, of course, most likely Alex. And we'll play this little video that I've got. Where is it? Here we go. I'm not sure how loud this will be.
Hi there.
Oops.
So what's going on?
Someone shot my window out.
Okay, give me a little bit more than that.
Yeah, so I was just pulling in.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a green Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
It's like a pukey green
Okay.
color.
Pukey green color. This guy's so lucky. He was nearly shot in the head. We'll learn this in a minute. But what's crazy is they're talking about this Jeep. This Jeep is actually Charles Vallow's Jeep that Alex has been driving around. And Charles has been, sadly passed away because of Alex. Sorry, I have to use my words carefully. But yeah, he's been driving Charles's Jeep around this whole time. It's absolutely crazy. And anyway, so he shows up to, Melanie's ex-husband's, I don't know if this is a house or whatever, but shows up at his residence and shoots at his window.
Had a Texas plate.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved in like a week ago, so I
Okay.
thought maybe it was just my neighbor.
Okay.
So as I was kind of pulling in, they lifted their back window.
Okay.
I saw a muzzle. They shot.
Are we talking a real gun,
I don't-
a BB gun?
It's got to be like a BB gun.
Yes.
Okay,
It was
so
loud.
they shot, then what happened?
Yes.
It hit my window, and instead of turning in, it scared me really bad.
Yeah, Lori was using her phone, using Tylee's phone for, I want to say almost a month. And then Colby finally got in touch with his mom, and she then, asking about Tylee, where's Tylee? I haven't spoke to her, I didn't get to talk to her on her birthday. She keeps sending me these weird messages. She finally just shut her phone off. But yeah, that was Lori using her phone.
Okay.
I thought, I'm getting shot at, so I drove straight. So I
Okay.
drove straight really fast.
Okay.
Pulled around the corner, got my phone out, called 911, sat there, drove a little further up. I watched them come around the corner.
What do you mean coming around the corner? Come around the corner where?
So I drove up there. I drove
Okay.
to this street.
Gotcha.
made a right, went a little further.
Okay.
Parked by, there's a park right there.
So he went northbound on that
northbound.
street.
Turned right, and I watched him turn right down here, and I knew there was only one way out of this neighborhood.
Okay.
It was on Pecos and Wrecker, so I told that to the dispatcher.
Okay, so he was on Wrecker. He went, but you don't know if he went onto Pecos. You just know Wrecker Road.
He didn't get on Wrecker. He stayed on this, and he came out on. He had to have gone out on Pecos because that's the only way.
Oh, he stayed in the neighborhood. He did not go out to Wrecker. I got you covered. Okay.
And I was nervous, so I was kind of waiting because I didn't want him to follow me.
So
'cause
we don't know where, if he went on Pecos, left, right.
I don't. I didn't follow him anymore. I was a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it's all blurred out in this. I mean, there's not much to see anyway, but probably to protect certain things. But you can kind of see the window. This guy was lucky, Brandon. So it looks like he had a silencer on. I think he even claims he saw a silencer. But what Alex did is I guess he parked near the house or something like that, and then before they did that, so most people, if they know a Jeep, they have the tire on the back, on the, like most regular cars have a spare tire, in the back compartment, but with like Jeeps, they have the spare tire on the back. Well, they removed that so he could get in the back, I guess in the back trunk area, and then lift up the the window or whatever from the rear trunk, peek the gun out, and then try to assassinate this poor kid, Brandon, all because he's now a zombie because for whatever falling out he had with Melanie, who is not Melanie Gibb but Melanie, the niece to Lori.
You who was renting the house before you or anything?
So anyway, and here is them just prior to when this shooting happened. We'll just play just a little clip. And then let's see what time it is. Because, gosh, going through this case, there's so many layers. And you really have to do parts, part 1, part 2, part 3 to this case. Because there's just so much. Yeah, it's exactly just what I said. And I did want to get into what's the latest, like with the court dates. And I do have those for us. So we'll get into that here in just a bit.
By herself the day before on the 1st, but on October 2nd, she came in her blue Nissan Rogue with a man.
Okay, so remember that date, October 2nd. So that is when he is shot at, October 2nd. So here is, I think, Chad and Lori.
We originally thought was Alex Cox, her brother. But a closer look of enhanced high-quality video shows it likely was not Alex. In fact, it appears to be Chad Daybell, based on the way he walks, looks, and comparing his mannerisms to other video we have of him. Let me walk you through this. The blue Rogue arrives at 2:25. You can see the timestamp says 1:25, but that's because the clocks were off, according to the facility. Lori is driving the Rogue and makes her way to the door of the building where her unit is. She gets out 2 minutes later at 2:27 with the man we believe is Chad. At 2:29,
so there's the spare tire right there. So there's the spare tire, and that's the tire apparently that was taken off the Jeep so he could, for whatever reason, he wanted to get in the back seat and then lift up the window out the back of the Jeep so he could just poke his, silencer gun out and shoot. They went through all this trouble. Just crazy.
At 2:29, he pulls a tire out of the back of the Rogue and rolls it into the storage unit. Then 1 minute later, he and Lori both carry in together what appears to be a removable car seat. They put it in the locker, shut the door, and leave the facility at 2:32. Their entire visit is just 7 minutes. So why does this matter?
Oh yeah, and I just realized he spanks her on the butt too, so that's definitely Chad. Not that there has been some odd stuff, but I don't want to go there. But there was some rumors that Alex had some weird, relationship with Lori. I don't know if it was how much truth is to that.
32. Their entire visit is just 7 minutes. So why does this matter? Well, that same day, Brandon Boudreaux says that he was shot at in Gilbert, Arizona around 9:30 that morning while coming home from the gym. Brandon had been married to Melanie, Lori's niece, and he had a very large life insurance policy and assets totaling over $1 million. Months earlier, Melanie began spending a lot of time with Lori and her religious.
If anybody follows that chapter, I'm sure there's some people in here, if you're true crime fanatics like me, before I started YouTube, I was watching that chapter. I love him. He does an amazing job. And he's now got this thing where whenever, because there's always motives, and life insurance seems to be kind of one of those at the top. And anyway, he has this little dance and stuff that he does whenever he's doing a case, and they're talking about it's involving life insurance, and I don't know. I love Mike from that chapter. He does an amazing job. But anyway, I always think of him when I hear life insurance. But I love Nate Eaton. What an absolute gentleman. He is done an amazing job with this case and Dylan Rounds, and I have the utmost respect for Nate Eaton. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we covered. I know there's so much more to cover, so we'll quickly recap Tammy because there's just not enough time to go through everything. My goodness, there's just so much to this. I want to get up to the latest details. So with Tammy, we've got so she right after a week later, it always seems like there's similar days onto what happens. You know, you got the two kids that look like they're buried on Mondays, and then we got two failed attempts at shootings. So we have Brandon, who's shot at on a Wednesday, October 2nd. A week later is when Tammy experiences a guy in a ski mask as she arrives home, I believe from the grocery store. In my opinion, I'm pretty sure it was Alex Cox. She says that he had a paintball gun, but I think he had a silencer, and I think maybe either he missed or the gun jammed or a combination of the two. Because I would think like a silencer may sound more like a paintball gun. That makes sense. Yeah, if you're a zombie, don't carry life insurance around the Vallows. Yeah. Where's that going? But anyway, yeah, so she thought this guy, crazy guy, shows up in a ski mask with a paintball gun, but I'm pretty sure it's a gun with a silencer. She luckily gets lucky, and it's not, well, unfortunately, wouldn't be that lucky, but that day she was lucky. She wasn't hurt or shot. Apparently, this guy shows up, then runs behind the house, and then conveniently, Chad is home. He's inside the house. He gets out of the house, and he conveniently runs behind the house to go chase off the would-be ski mask guy. I think he probably let Alex, pretended to chase him, and, he ran out. Because if you look at the area here, I mean, obviously, here's the house. And I'm sure this is, I don't know what the date is on this. This is what it would look like. So this is more of what it looked like then. I mean, obviously he could have just pretended to chase the guy off the property or whatever. But that was probably most likely Alex, and it was a failed attempt again. But sadly, the next week, on Saturday, Tammy would pass away. Now we don't know exactly how. At the time, they just thought it was natural causes. He didn't have an autopsy done, of course, but they did exhume her body, and I was hoping to see something in the probable cause, but I don't. I'll have to look a little closer because there's obviously you got Chad Daybell and Lori. And there's a lot apparently in discovery. Apparently they're still releasing stuff into this case before it goes to trial, like tons of stuff, and we'll look at that as well. But they would eventually exhume her body. Then we have December, where Alex, the family hitman, would pass away on December 12th. We'll play just a short clip of that, and then we'll kind of transition to what's going on now, because there's just so much.
December 12th, 2019, 15 hours, 20 minutes, 19 seconds.
911, where is your emergency?
Hi, I need an ambulance to... Yes.
Why do you need an ambulance?
I have a older male, a middle-aged male.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing.
Okay, let me transfer you to Mesa, or the medics. Do not hang up.
Okay.
I'm going to turn this down, sorry.
Is it this due to a
Fire and medical, what is the address of your emergency?
Go with it.
Caller, are you on the line? Hello, is
Hello?
anyone there?
Yes, this is... I'm here.
Okay, you're at
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what is the emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
Okay, is he awake
Are you
right
breathing?
now?
So anyway, I'm gonna go. This must be the unedited one. I've never even heard this one. It's kind of a shortened down version. But anyway, so this young kid, I forget her name, Zalema, right? That he married, and that would be her son that would call 911, and I guess was it pulmonary disease? I believe he was suffering from. So something most likely got into his lungs or something, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but he ended up suffocating to death, which rightfully so for stuff he's done. And so he would pass away. I mean, with all this crazy, you got the kids. Sadly, their life's taken in September. Then you got November, everybody's getting married. And then in October, you have these failed assassination attempts, and then Tammy would be taken, and then December 12th, we get Alex Koch, who passes on, and so now let's get into the courts, because like I said, there's so many more avenues that we could kind of go down, but we're kind of reaching into overtime, so we're going to look at just kind of the basic charges and where we're at now, because there's so much. Zulema, yeah, that's right. Cantavan, thank you so much for the $1.99. I appreciate it. All the support will go to these cold cases we're going to be working on at the beginning of next month, and super excited for that. And we'll be taking you guys along with that journey, and so excited for that. So here's an overview of the charges, because they kind of changed throughout, throughout the years. So on February 20th, obviously they weren't able to produce the kids, so I forgot it. That's the only thing I forgot to talk about, is where we got to now is obviously, thanks to Kay and Larry persistence, they were obviously trying to get looking for JJ and Tylee, and then finally they would ask Lori to produce the kids within a certain amount of time frame. After that time frame was up, she could produce the kids, and so they ended up arresting her in Kauai, and so that was February 20th of 2020. She was also, so at that time she was charged with 3 misdemeanors, and that was obstructing officers, solicitation to commit a crime, and contempt of court. She was held on a $5 million bond. And then on May 25th, so I guess before we get to May 25th, so now Chad kind of lucked out for a bit, because now obviously at the time they didn't know exactly what happened. They just thought the kids were missing. And they were hoping, that she was just trying to hide them from everybody. But once they started getting some records, they found out, and I'm assuming it's the phone records. Sadly, on June 9th of 2020 is when they would go to the Daybell residence, and they would uncover the remains of Tylee and JJ, sadly. And that was so tough to see. Larry and Kay, Larry was out there, and so during that time, there's even a phone call. Chad is on the phone with Lori, who's in jail, and it's a short conversation, and he doesn't sound too happy, and she's asking, what's going on, and he's like, well, they're here on the property, and anyway, she's like, okay, love you, call you later. And then anyway, apparently, I guess when they started looking closer to where they were buried, apparently Chad tries to make a run for it, and he's seen at high speed going down the road. They quickly pull him over. there's some passerby that kind of captures him on video, getting, perped, walked back to the police car. And then so on May 25th, Chad and Lori were both indicted with the conspiracy to commit first degree red rum and also grand theft by deception for the death of Tylee and JJ and Tammy. Lori was charged with grand theft related to Social Security survivor benefits, over 1,000 allocated to the minors of Tylee and JJ, stealing their money. It's disgusting. Chad was charged with insurance fraud because he got, when Tammy passed away, he got her life insurance was, I think, almost $500,000, somewhere around in there. And then we move on. Let me take a sip here because I'm going to need it, because this is the overview of the court dates and how they kept getting pushed back. New to the channel, love this detailed video with the calendar timeline. This story is heartbreaking. If they would have listened to Charles. Thank you so much, Kim D. I know it's a shame. It's just a shame. And I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Catavin, thank you so much for the $9.99. That's so awesome. You guys are amazing. On John's phone. Yeah, if you can email Salty, thank you. John's phone. I'm gonna say, are we? Because I know Salty covers Dylan Rounds. Are we talking Dylan Rounds? I'm trying to think of John. Yeah, email me, Salty. No, I'm sorry, I've got a lot going on. I'm trying to finish this up. But yeah, if you got something, let me know. I'll look at it. Okay, so with their charges and then the court system, so 2 years ago, January to March, so they were going to try to do the two trials together, Chad and Lori's, because pretty much they're the same. It would save a lot of time and money, and the court's money, people's money, because it's basically the same same case, the same people involved. It would only make sense to have them as co-defendants, and that was how it's supposed to be. But then Chad wanted to, so Lori wanted to have a speedy trial, whereas Chad did not. He wanted to, he waived his right to a speed trial. But Lori let's see, where is it? She had her, let's see, Chad was scheduled January 11th. God, there's so many things in here. So March 22nd of 2021, scheduled court date for Lori and Chad. Their cases had been merged at the team, as I was just talking about. And then we have in May of 2021 is when she became incompetent. And so she wasn't fit to stand trial. And so that put a pause on everything. And then we have some charges being brought on, different charges. And then we have Lori is indicted by the grand jury for, her conspiracy to commit red rum on her previous husband, Charles Vallow. So they add that onto her. The prosecution announces that they're seeking death penalty for Chad Daybell. And that is also with, now as we're learning, with Lori Vallow as well. So August 26, 2021, Chad Daybell waives his right to a speedy trial. At that time in August, Lori is still bit unfit for trial because of her incompetency. And then basically the rest of 2021, Chad's requesting a change of venue. Let's see. Some other charges are filed against Chad, which include the shooting attempt of Brandon. I mean, it's so wild. I need a lawyer on here one of these times. I definitely need to get somebody in touch with on the YouTube side of things. And You know how we have Steve with true crime or with law enforcement. It'd be nice to have somebody that could explain some of this trial stuff. But anyway, fast forwarding, get to the recent stuff. So be from July 2022 to present. Lori would eventually be fit again to stand trial. September 28th, Chad Daybell's lawyers again asked for his case to be separated from his wife Lori, because of course they wanted to keep them together to save time and money. And then it looks like as for the second time, Lori's Vallow was trial had been suspended due to competency concerns. And then November 15th of last year, that she was again fit to stand trial. And then finally, as of March 3rd, judge had severed the case of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. And then we learned that the trial dates is set for Lori Vallow on April 3rd. So hopefully April 3rd, if everything goes right, April 3rd is going to be Lori's trial. And then I guess Chad they're aiming for fall. But from what I understand, they're both looking for the death penalty. Rightfully so, in my opinion. But, wow, so much. Let me see what you got. She got on the wheel of misfortune. So, yeah. Yeah, add a lawyer. It would be cool to have somebody on to kind of help explain all the legal side. Obviously, it's not my expertise. Kane, this is the saddest and sickest crime I've heard about in recent times. I think Lori was a pathological manipulator. Totally agree. Who fulfilled Chad's unspoken, unrealized urges. Yeah, I think they were both manipulators. With his books, because near-death experiences, I think, are fascinating. People have a fascination for what could be in the afterlife, and he took advantage of that. He took that near-death experience and used it to reel people in and say, oh, well, not only did I see the afterlife, but I spoke and, I got these, whatever. I don't even know if I can, explain what his views on that, but just completely twisted it. Yeah, I'm out of breath just going through all this. It's crazy. I mean, if you look at the Wikipedia on this, it's crazy. I mean, this is the Wikipedia. I have to kind of choose my wordings carefully, but the death of Tylee and J.J. Vallow. I mean, you look this up, and it's just, and there is a lot. But we'll look at one last video here, and we'll finish up because I try not to go too much longer. But thank you guys so much for the support. You guys are so awesome. This is kind of the latest thing about their trials.
Former CIA officer and FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder is with us. She's been looking into the case. This is another really complicated case, right? Because there are some other deaths that we can talk about later, whether those will be included in these cases, the former spouses of each of these people. But in terms of the kids and the murder charges, what type of evidence do prosecutors have?
Well, thank you for having me, Morny. So, they really have several things. They have cell phone data, putting them in and around the scene of the crime. They have text messages. But the biggest problem that they have right now is that really most of the witnesses, as you mentioned before, are no longer with us. We have Tammy, who has, deceased really right around the time that the kids were reported missing. You have Alex, who also disappeared right around the time that the kids were reported missing. And it looks to me like the defense is actually going to try to pin a lot of this actually on Alex Cox, who died about several weeks after the kids were
That'd be
reported
cool.
missing. And so I find this to be very interesting to see how it's going to go. And really the biggest interest to me is on the defense and what they're going to use.
Right, it's going to be the someone else did it and they're not here to defend themselves argument, right, in this case. The other situation you've got is Lori Vallow and her mental competency. That has been called into question multiple times leading up to this trial. How do you expect that to be a factor?
So you're absolutely right. You know, there's several different types of defenses that can be used. There's actually 6 textbooked ones, and one of them is mental illness. But it looks like the defense is not going to use that. They don't want that, her mental health, being brought in at trial. And so what, like you said, that they're going to use before is that pinning it on someone else. And I think the reality is if she's convicted, her mental health status may be brought in at sentencing in terms of taking the death penalty off of the table. But it looks like they've been very clear in that they are not going to bring her mental health into the trial, and it will not be playing a role in her defense.
The other question that many may have as we start to learn more about what happened in this case and kind of remind ourselves and our viewers is you've got Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. Now their cases have been severed. They'll be tried differently. Will the question be which one of them, according to prosecutors, killed the kids, or was it both of them?
So I do think that that could be a question. Obviously, it would have been better to have it not severed, but she was unwilling to waive her right to a speedy trial. And really, Chad Daybell wanted more, his attorneys wanted more time to go through that evidence. And so they didn't really have a choice but to sever it. I don't know if they're going to play one off of the other. That could be good for the prosecution in terms of deal cutting at this point. So, you know, I think it's good and bad that they've decided to sever their case. I do think the prosecution probably had a better case if they had decided to try the two of them together. But I'm not certain that they're going to pin it on each other. They seem rather united in pinning it on the person who is no longer with us, Alex Cox.
Yeah, blame it on the dead guy. Yeah. Yeah, it's so sad. It's too bad that he did pass away, so he couldn't get the justice, you know, so they could get the proper justice with the people involved. But man, what a wild ride. I don't know. I don't think this case, from what I understand, is going to be televised, at least live in the courtroom. I know Kay and Larry Woodcock were very vocal about they wanted it to be, you know, they wanted the trial to be televised, but it doesn't sound like that is the case, sadly. Maybe with Chad's, maybe it'll be different. I guess I think it depends on the judge. That's where I need, you know, somebody in the on the lawyer side of things, or in the law degree, kind of explain that, because I know each state is different, and then, you know, sometimes it depends on the judge, and but just glad it's finally, hopefully, you know, April 3rd is not too far away. I mean, where are we at? We're at March 15th. So hopefully Lori can go another 2 weeks without having any kind of competency issues. It'd be so nice to finally get these, because I know, like I said, the Woodcocks have been just very outspoken, and they deserve that, you know, the closure. So Cadavan, thank you so much for the donations. That's so awesome. You guys have been so amazing. We've had over 600 people in here most of the night. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch the show. We'll be keeping an eye on this case, of course, Dylan Rounds. And if there's anything with, you know, from the Murdoch case, you know, with the, you know, the extensions on that case, we may look into that. And then, of course, just around the corner, a couple of weeks. We were supposed to be out this week, but it kind of got postponed because the house that we're going to be looking at, there's some conflict issues. So we just got to wait a little bit more. But as I said, we're going to be out on the road here in a couple of weeks. Me and Steve getting together out in Texas, and we'll be working on cold cases, helping people. So. And all the donations go to helping that. So thank you guys so much. I love you guys. I'm going to get the outro ready. Just looking at the last few comments here. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's so awesome. Catavan, thank you so much. Everybody that donated. Let me just look at my phone here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, good deal. All right, guys. We will see you hopefully Friday. Try to go lives on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe a special live on Saturday or Sunday. So that's kind of what we're trying to get into, a program with that. So, oh, good. Yeah, Steve was supposed to speak with them. So it looks like April is looking good. Awesome. So that'll be the Amber Crumb case. It's not a big highlight case. A lot of people know about it, but that family's been waiting for a long time for justice. So, all right, guys, we'll see you guys. Thank you so much, Jonelle, for the $4.99. You guys are awesome. I'm gonna get out of here. Somebody asked about the affidavit. Yeah, all you have to do, Anna, is all I did was just type in probable cause affidavit. Here, I'll actually put it. See if I can put the link in there. If you just go to Google, I'll try to see if I can get the link in there real quick. But if you just go to Google and you go probable cause affidavit for Chad Daybell or Lori Vallow, I think they both pop up. It's in Idaho.gov here. Let me see if I can save. See if this will go in here. So that should take you to the PDF there, Anna, and anybody else that wants to see it. It does have some interesting things in there. And hopefully that works for you guys. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you guys so much for the support. Black Widow? It's basically Black Widow, but thank you so much for the euro. That's awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.